Chief White House correspondent Major Garrett is in the CBS News Washington bureau. Good enough to join us now. And Major, again, this New York Times article that features these various accounts of Trump making crude comments at times too, and unwarranted advances toward women throughout his life. Now, Trump has largely brushed aside these allegations. He tweeted, called it a lame hit piece. And just this morning, one of the women featured, Roanne Brewer-Lane, had this to say about the characterization of her in the piece.
They did take quotes from what I said, and they put a negative connotation on it. They spun it to where it appeared negative. I did not have a negative experience with Donald Trump, and I don't appreciate them making it look like that I was saying that it was a negative experience.
You know, interestingly, Major, RNC Chairman Reince Priebus actually said this weekend he wasn't even sure that voters would care about all of this. What do you make of it?
Well, look, the reporters for the New York Times were on CBS this morning, and they themselves said it's a complicated story. It's not just one thing or another with Donald Trump. He has a long history in business, interacting with women, dating women, and using women to successfully advance his own business interests, and in some cases doing so by promoting them much more rapidly than many of his competitors did in the real estate business at that time in that place, meaning New York City. And yet there is this other side of the Donald Trump persona, which can be crude, can be demeaning, can be overtly and in some cases hostilely suggestive in the way he talks to and deals with women. And so the Trump campaign knows that there's this whole life behind Trump that they want to say is only relevant to Trump before he ran for president and is not relevant once Trump entered the arena of politics. That's going to be the Trump assertion. And what it's going to be up for the campaign to make that assertion the most credible alternative reality. What campaigns are about, of course, is the reality that voters decide to hold themselves and use as their basis for judging someone's suitability for the Oval Office. And that's what all of this is all about. And I can guarantee you, if at the end of the day, meaning today or the end of this week, however long this story plays out, if most Americans look at it and say, it's a complicated story, Trump's not all one thing or all another, the Trump campaign will be more than happy to live with that. But if this becomes a permanent impression or a near permanent impression of Trump that he really doesn't treat women well, fairly, and if he does promote them or does things that are generally helpful to their careers, with that comes all this other semi-nasty behavior, then it's going to hurt Trump, and it's going to keep those historically high unfavorable ratings with women exactly where they are and may push them dangerously higher.
Of course, as one of those reporters did also say this morning, that's why we have elections, I suppose. Also, I want to ask you about that report as well over the weekend. It says GOP leaders are still perhaps looking to challenge Trump now with a third-party bid. Mitt Romney is said to be playing a key role. This has been something that's been whispered about, but it was confirmed with a bit more specificity this weekend. It said they are considering, among others, Ohio Governor John Kasich, Nebraska Senator Ben Sasse, and perhaps even, what do you know, a billionaire reality TV star, Mark Cuban. Reince Priebus also called this a suicide mission. Interestingly, Major, I was struck as well. Leadership at 11 different state GOP conventions just this past weekend began eliminating Never Trump factions state by state. So just how likely would this bid be?
Very unlikely in not only being introduced into the American political bloodstream, but if it is, lasting for anything more than a moment or two in time. Let's just ask ourselves a couple of fundamental questions. Do you think anyone in this electorate, as charged up and as fascinated as they have been by the Trump phenomenon, Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, is going to think long and hard about a campaign that says from the very beginning, well, we're not going to run in all 50 states. We're only going to run in a few swing states. We're not going to spend all that much money. And the real purpose of our campaign is to deprive either major party nominee of 270 electoral votes so we can have this decided by the House of Representatives under a important but largely unknown constitutional provision which allows for the House of Representatives to decide presidential elections if no nominee gets 270 electoral votes. Is that really a kind of campaign anyone who is serious about American politics thinks has any lasting power? For one, I do not.
Major Garrett in Washington, on his way to somewhere. As always, we appreciate it.
Thanks.